Ladies and gentlemen, there is not a more principled man in America than Chuck Baldwin. He lives the life he advocates. He is the founder and pastor of the Crossroads Baptist Church in Pensacola, Florida, a radio talk show host, an accomplished writer and columnist, and he was a tireless supporter of Ron Paul's presidential bid. Today, he is the presidential candidate for the Constitutional Party, and I believe now the standard bearer for the principles of freedom in this election. You heard Bill Jasper's presentation yesterday on the Earth Charter and global religion. Chuck Baldwin has been fighting the results of those globalist policies again and again as he has challenged evangelical leaders across the nation for their flip-flops and failures to stand for true American principles and leadership. He's questioned why these leaders, who supposedly stand for good and righteousness, would sell their votes and their souls for a little piece of the action from those unprincipled politicians. Why don't they instead use their influence to help elect good, honest people to represent us? Most importantly, why have American leaders abandoned freedom's principles for humanism and pragmatism? These are questions that go to the very foundation of our society, and they are questions he will discuss today. Please welcome the Constitution Party candidate for President of the United States and our friend, Chuck Baldwin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What a delight and a joy to be with you today and to be invited by my good friend Tom DeWeese. To be here at this Freedom 21 conference is a real joy for me, I can assure you of that. We do not have a better champion for the principles upon which our country was founded anymore than we find in Tom DeWeese. He is a real champion in this fight, and we owe him a great deal of gratitude. I know that many of you probably are going to be aware of what I'm about to say, but I want to go ahead and say it for the record. Ladies and gentlemen, the battle that we are fighting today is not a battle between liberals and conservatives. It's not a battle between Democrats and Republicans. It is a battle between Americans and globalists. And ladies and gentlemen, I am an American. At issue is, will we preserve the independence and the sovereignty of our country? Will we, in the next generation, be a free and independent people? Freedom and independence is something that must be earned by each generation. Each of us has a responsibility to our posterity to preserve that which was bequeathed to us by our grandparents and the generations that came before us. The generation that decides to sit in its own comfort, the generation that decides that liberty and independence are not worth fighting for any longer, is the generation that will spell the doom of independence and freedom in any society. And I fear that perhaps our generation today, the adult generation of our country today, may be on the verge of becoming that generation that refuses to stand in the gap against the forces that would destroy our freedoms so that our children and our grandchildren will be able to inherit a free and independent country. The issues that we are dealing with this week are really the issues that are confronting us in this war against our freedoms and our independence. The issues that we've heard about sustainable development and global warming and animal rights and all of these issues are simply the various issues that are being used by the globalists to result in the forfeiture of our freedoms and our liberties. Our freedoms and our liberties are dependent upon our country remaining a free and independent nation. Without independence and national sovereignty, our country will not survive as we have known it. It has always been the desire of those who consider themselves to be elitists to rule the world. There's nothing new about that. As a Christian, I go back to the biblical example of the Tower of Babel, where the elitists of that day wanted to have an intra-supranational government with a supranational economy. And of course, we know what happened, how God intervened on behalf of freedom and liberty in that day. We understand that those people still exist. They have not gone away. They are with us today. No matter where you come from in the religious spectrum, no matter where we come from in the political spectrum, we have to understand that we are dealing with people that really do want to see America lose its independence and its sovereignty. And all of these issues have the result of the possibility that we could become the generation that loses that liberty and that independence. You know, back in the early 1970s, when the abortion issue became the dominant issue of the culture, it was left to the doctors and the physicians, especially the OBGYN physicians, to become the frontline soldiers in the abortion debate. It was given to them. After everything was said and done, the judges could rule on the issue, and the people inside the ivory palaces of higher education could debate the platitudes of the issue. But when all was said and done, it was left to the OBGYN physicians to actually go into the abortion clinics with their scalpels and actually put the application to all of these platitudes. And we know the result of that is over 40 million unborn babies have been slaughtered in the wombs of their mothers since that infamous decision in 1973. Well, here we are in 2008. And ladies and gentlemen, it is apparently been given to my peers and to my profession, the clergy, to be placed on the front lines of this sacrifice of our independence and our sovereignty. And I find it interesting that no matter whether you're talking about the Democratic candidate for president or the Republican candidate for president, both of those gentlemen are going all around the world talking about globalism. They're talking about global economy. They're talking about internationalism. They're talking about interdependence, etc., etc. And it is not going to matter one whit whether it's John McCain or Barack Obama who becomes president of the United States. Neither one of them will have the will nor the desire to stand against the internationalist forces that seek to sacrifice America's independence and sovereignty. You can count on that. I can only tell you this: should God smile on our endeavor and somehow we would be able to take that oath of office in January of 2009 and be sworn in as President of these United States, the day that happens, the New World Order comes crashing down.